While the Calgary Flames have a lot of potential targets in the early goings of the summer, not every single player fits the plans for the rebuild of the Calgary Flames, and the Flames should not be pursuing every single youngster that there is. Welcome to part 3 of the 3-part series where we are diving into Julian MacKenzie's article on The Athletic that looks at 11 potential targets for the Flames this offseason. But before we dive into the final part of the series, I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I am Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and hats off to you if you have made it to the finale and already watched the first 2 parts of this. Let's get into the end. There had to be at least one negative one, I suppose, and maybe the title of this video is a little bit harsh and the thumbnail saying uh-oh isn't quite, totally accurate. But either way, let's just go into someone who is not a fit. Not every single person I can always say, yes, this person is going to be, the next star on the Flames, and we should totally pursue everything I ever read on the internet. There's got to be some that maybe horrendous is a little bit harsh, but please, Flames, do not go after this guy, and it is Jonathan Berggren. It's not the man in the thumbnail. I know a lot of you guys were going after it. If you didn't make it to this part and you were already starting to hate on me about the Leafs player in the thumbnail, then, well, here you go. It is actually Jonathan Berggren of the Detroit Red Wings, a 23-year-old right winger who had 2 goals and 6 points in 12 games this past season, and he is currently an RFA at the time of recording. So a point every other game, but a very small sample size. And really, I know he was drafted decently high, but that's not what the Flames really need. I personally do not think the Flames should pursue this guy at all. But as always, let's see what Julian MacKenzie of The Athletic has to say about this one. Once again, all credit due to him for writing this entire article. These are all his words. Let's see. Berggren is another buy low candidate. The Swedish forward showed some promise in his debut season in 2022-23 with 12 goals and 28 points in 67 games. Yeah, those are the stats we're going after. But he couldn't crack the Red Wings lineup regularly last season with only 12 games played. Now questions surround his future as Detroit's core takes shape. So if he couldn't crack Detroit's lineup, another non-playoff team, I know they almost made it, went to the last day, but I don't know if he'll be good enough to crack the Flames lineup, because we want guys who can come in and literally be first liners already. But let's continue here. He has shown flashes of speed and skill in his short time in the pros, but is it enough for the Flames to consider him? He'd likely start as another bottom 6 forward. Oh baby, another one of those. And would enter next season without a waiver exemption, meaning you'll have to keep him around or risk losing him for nothing. How about we just don't go after him at all? I'm not too fond of Berggren. He's not a bad player, do not get me wrong. He does have tons of promise, tons of potential. He just doesn't fit the plans, the structure of this rebuild. I'm not interested. He's probably going after a contract with term anyway, just since he hasn't had that much time in the NHL. He wants to guarantee that he will. I'm not interested at all. I do not think this is a fit. Again, it might be harsh to say this is horrendous. It would be horrendous for the Flames, but it would not be a good business decision. And I think a lot of people are on Conroy's side right now. That would make some people raise some eyebrows for sure. But let's wrap up this finale with some good options here, and let's finish this one off strong. They're not the best of the best that we've gone through in this series. Personally, for me, the best one would be going after Marco Rossi, and then if McGroarty would be interested in playing in Calgary, maybe him next. I know there were some other good ones, but let's still finish off with some decent options, and we'll start with the man in the thumbnail this time, Nicholas Robertson, better known as Nick, better known as the not as good brother of Jason Robertson. But he's a 22-year-old left wing currently playing with the Leafs. He had 14 goals and 27 points in 56 games, and at the time of recording, once again, is an RFA. And it's interesting because 56 games is a pretty decent sample size. He played the majority of the season. However, he was never given top minutes. He was never given top power play minutes. He never really got to skate with Matthews or Nylander or Marner. I know he's on the outs with Leafs fans, kind of. But either way, he wasn't given the best opportunity. And I know he played that many games not much time on the ice, especially when the Leafs were primed to score goals. I mean, Matthews scores all the goals anyway, so it didn't really matter. But he could be interesting in Calgary because he would be given the right opportunity. And him, maybe with Huberdeau or something. I know I said that about everyone because Huberdeau can dish the puck so well, but Robertson could really, really break out. But let's once again see what Julian MacKenzie has to say. He said the Toronto Maple Leafs may not be pressured to move Robertson, but he certainly would rather continue his NHL career elsewhere. He has some pace and scoring ability, which would certainly be welcomed for the Flames. Robertson ultimately just wants another opportunity where he can play more consistent minutes. In theory, there could be an opening alongside Michael Backlund and Blake Coleman, so pretty much a Mangiapane replacement here, Andrew, I should say. But it may depend on where a few other pieces fit themselves. He'd be more of a middle six option than anything else, but it could still bring more consistency than his Toronto tenure. And it's very true. Look, at least it's not a bottom six. At least he's middle six. That's a little bit better. Again, not a terrible option to pursue. I think the one big roadblock here, though, is that he is a Toronto Maple Leaf. I don't think Conroy wants to deal with Tree Living at all. I kind of doubt Tree Living is fond of Conroy at this point after kind of, you know, not even entertaining his offer for Jacob Markstrom or anything like that. You know, Tree Living did go after Tanev now, but it wasn't through the Flames and kind of thing. And just with the whole Flames and Leafs trade history, it always seems to be one-sided deals. So I don't know if something would happen. But for the right price, I would be so interested in at least pursuing Nick Robertson. I think this is a great potential target that the Flames could go after. Now, let's get into the final man here, young man, I should say, and that is Peyton Krebs, who is 23 now. It's so funny because every time I hear his name, I still think he's 17 or 18 years old, just ready to come into the NHL. But he played 80 whole games this past season for the Buffalo Sabres. I actually remember going to a game against the Sabres, and he was absolutely insane in that one. But he had 4 goals and 17 points in 80 games, not the stats that you are looking for. I said finish off strong, mostly just because he's more of a household name than some other people like a Berggren, but I don't know about him. He is currently also an RFA at the time of recording. Let's see what MacKenzie has to say. I'd argue Krebs would be a buy low candidate here. He's a bottom 6 forward on the Sabres, another non-playoff team, with a current ceiling of 26 points. Yes, again, exactly what we need. It remains to be seen how much more growth is left in his game. And if he's a player who's destined to be a bottom 6 player, the Flames have enough internal pieces who could fill that spot. One big selling point on acquiring Krebs would be his Calgary ties, and the Flames aren't afraid to lean into that hometown identity. Yes, that, of course, does bring value for us. We care more about players who have ties to the city and would be interested in playing here. But Krebs, I don't know, he just hasn't panned out at the NHL level. And for him, you can't even say he hasn't been given the right opportunity, really. I know he was a bottom 6 player on the Buffalo Sabres who really, he should have been able to go a little bit higher up than that. Such a mess in Buffalo right now. It will be very interesting to see what they continue to do this offseason. But either way, Krebs, he still, I think, does have potential, but you can't say he hasn't been given some great opportunities so far to really showcase his game, and it hasn't quite panned out. When it really boils down to it, again, maybe worth pursuing, but I wouldn't be upset at all if the Flames were to not even go after Krebs, let alone acquire him. I don't hate it. I don't love it. Take it or leave it. That wraps up the 11 potential targets. Please let me know down below if you've watched all the videos, which one you want to go after the most, and if there's one that you just think is absolutely bananas, why would we ever do that? But before we wrap up this video, we of course need to do the comment of the day on this beautiful Sunday. And this one, you know, it has to do with maybe some goals for the Flames in the future, maybe our potential future plans. And it comes from this user right here, Hoon. Hoon said, great draft. Now let's pick Gavin McKenna in 2026. Yes, please. And win the cup around 2028. I'm going to take that as let's win the cup in 2027, 28, and 29. You know, one each way and getting all of them. Nah, it truly was an absolutely spectacular draft. Couldn't be happier with it, to be honest. Gavin McKenna in 2026 would be just amazing to pick him up. He really is supposed to be the next big thing, and I would love to win a cup in the near future. 2028 might be a little bit early. I'm hoping more for early 2030s, but either way, I absolutely love it, and I'm so optimistic about our future. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.